You up on trades and why you move, you ain't designed to lose. Find you jumping over seemingly nothing, racking up points, makes the game a little more fun to watch. Can drop release, we started with the mock draft and now we making a mockery of the leaderboard. Quite obviously not a scrub, so start an institute, make evaluations like the commissioner do. It's to the point your wife make you watch in a different room. Update your roster and pick and choose when you get some news. Not much that we enjoy more than sipping through, sifting through new statistics to make it to our end zones through different routes. Universities, institutes, down to homies who click in groups. I introduce you to the Stu and JT Brew.
So that's going to do it. We're going to move to AFC West now. So the AFC West is playing the NFC East and the AFC North this year. So we're kind of going order here. We'll start with the Broncos. Broncos right now are plus 550 on both DraftKings and FanDuel to win the division. They're sitting at 8.5 wins right now. It's about even money all around for 8.5, the over and the under. FanDuel has them slightly favored for the under at minus 132, but everything else is about 110, so it's pretty equal there. John, where are you seeing the Broncos finishing this year?
I got him at 8-9. I got a new coach, tough schedule, quarterback who he's struggling, but can figure it out. Javonte might not start the season. They say he might not start the season on the pup. He may be able to start the season in time for rookie or training camp. And I don't think that's going to be the case. That's all smoke and mirrors. I think he's going to start on the pup. There's no way. That's too significant an injury to risk the rest of his career by rushing him back. So there's a lot of intangibles with this team. I got him at 8-9 because I think just, Sean Payton's a good coach. He'll probably straighten out the receiving core a little bit if they don't make too many changes. They brought in a decent rookie wide receiver. I have him at 8-9, and I'm that may be one of these teams. Like I said before, some of these teams I kind of felt bad about giving them not enough wins. I think 8 might be a little like almost too many wins for this team. I could see them going 7-10 too, to be honest with you.
Yeah, my initial reaction, I had them at 9-8. But like you mentioned when we talked about the Jets, that Jets game was a toss-up for me. If I have them losing that Jets game, that's got the Jets winning 10 and then them winning 8 and going 8-9. I'm kind of leaning there. For this team, I know everybody expects them to be much better with Sean Payton. I think they'll be better with Sean Payton. Is Russ going to be a lot better? You'd think. You'd hope so. But again, this tough schedule. Just tough schedule. I'm leaning the under on this. I'm leaning 8 wins, 8-9. I could definitely see the 7-10, like you said. I gave them a couple wins just for the fact that they were at home and they were playing a team that they don't play very often in Denver, and I gave them the advantage there. But if they look like at home like they did last year, where there was no advantage because they couldn't put up any points, I could definitely see this team going over. I'm leaning under on this as well. I'm right with you there. I'm right at that 8-9. 9-8, but I will lean the under on the 8.5.
I like Sean Payton a lot, but he's not a miracle worker. He's a good coach, but he's not a miracle worker. So it's going to take a year to get all these guys to mesh together. Is what I think. And this starting off square one with a whole new playbook, whole new offense, all kind of changes. Russ, there was so much. It's like Russ had his own office on the second floor of the coaches last year. All kind of stupid shit like that was going on. And it's going to take a kind of a whole year. These guys airing it out before everybody's on the same page. So it might be a little bit of a tough year kind of getting together or getting this right in the ship, as people would say.
So the next team in this division is defending Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. Division is minus 165 on DraftKings, minus 160 on FanDuel. They're by far the favorite. I think they're one of only a handful of teams are actually minus to win the division this year. That tells you kind of what Vegas thinks about them. Over under right now sitting at 11.5 wins. The money right now is going on the over at minus 140 on DraftKings, minus 128 on FanDuel, under plus 120, plus 104. A really difficult schedule for the Chiefs. Top 5 schedule as far as difficulty this year. They're favored in every single game. If you look at Vegas right now, they don't have a single game, not even a road game, that they're the dogs. What do you think the defending champs can do? At 11.5 is a pretty sizable number, but a team that's been great in the past. What do you think? I'm
taking the under. I have 11-6 here. I think Mahomes is fantastic, but there's just a lot of nobodies around him besides Kelsey. They don't need to win more games this season to to prove anything, whatever. They just need to make the playoffs. They're one of those teams that could just kind of figure out the offense as the season goes on. Figure out the Kadarius Toney and the Sky Moore and all the rest of the situations all the rest of the players on this team. Figure out who fits in well, whether CEH gets his role back, all that kind of stuff. They need to figure out the chemistry in this offense. But as long as they make the playoffs, they can do anything. It's all you got to be in it to win it. That's all it takes. If they can just win 11 games, make the playoffs, and then all of a sudden turn it up like they've done the last couple of years, that's all they need to do because they can win a Super Bowl. But you got to be in it to win it. And 11, like I said, I'll take the under 11 wins. They have a lot to figure out on this team this year.
Yeah, this one I really struggled with because looking at the schedule and who they're playing, I was like, oh, I think they can win that game. Oh, they should beat that team. But then I also remember being at the Colts-Chiefs last year, early in the season, and the Colts beat them. And they had no business winning that game. And they beat them. And I just feel like the Chiefs are going to be really good again. They're going to be really good down the stretch. But there just seems like there's going to be one or two games they trip up on that you thought they probably should have won. My original thought was 13-4, but then looking at the record, they've got some tough teams. They just are lucking out. A lot of their tough teams are at home this year, so I think that helps their cause. I mean, I think they've got the Bengals at home. They've got the Lions at home. They get the Bills at home. So they're on the kind of the opposite side of that for me is that they got the Eagles at home. So they actually have an insanely difficult schedule, but they got most of their big games at home. I'm leaning towards the over. I don't know if I like it at minus 140, to be honest with you, at 11.5. I think they win 12 games, but I'm not confident enough that I'm going to take the minus 140 on that over because this is a team I feel I could easily be 11-6 and just be right in the mix.
Yes,
because it feels like if they go 11-6, then they make the playoffs. Everybody's going to be scared of them. It doesn't matter if they're the number 1 seed or they're the number 4 seed.
The other thing about this team is that Mahomes just seems to be one of those guys who he can make a lot of really back-breaking mistakes sometimes, and just kind of shake it off and get right back in the game and never miss a beat. Some of the teams don't have that. When the quarterback gets rattled, it's 2 or 3 games of kind of trying to fix himself again or figuring out what's going on. Mahomes is one of those guys. He could throw 2 games in a row with game-losing interceptions, just kind of be pissed off at himself, but just come back in the next game and just perform like a champion because he is a champion. So they don't scare me. But I just feel like they just have too much work to do to be on like one of those teams that is a finely tuned, well-oiled machine. They're not there yet. They have a lot of stuff to figure out.
And I think the Raiders I don't think are going to be good. I think the Broncos will be somewhat better. Now, does that mean they can win 1 game and split with the Chiefs or not? I don't know. I think the Chargers probably split with them. If their non-conference schedule wasn't as hard as it is, I could see them easily getting that 12-13 wins.
Sure.
But that one's going to be toughy for me. And it's so hard when you're the defending Super Bowl champs to keep that level up year after year after year after year. It's just so hard.
Yeah. Well, having a good coach and the best quarterback in football right now is it's a good combination. As long as your defense can just not get killed, Mahomes can make things happen to keep his team in games every week. So.
Next team here in the AFC West, the Las Vegas is right. Their odds to win the division are plus 1,100. Not a lot of faith in them on DraftKings, plus 1,200 at FanDuel. Their over is 7.5, and it's one of the lines that is probably the highest with the worst odds the other way. It's plus 130 if you want to go over 7.5 right now. All the money's on the under. It's minus 150 DraftKings. For the under, and actually Vegas, as far as FanDuel is concerned, because the money was going so far the other way, they actually dropped it to 6.5 wins, and they're at minus 144 at over 6.5 and plus 118 at under 6.5. So right now you get a little bonus. If you think the Raiders are going to be really bad, you want to jump on that FanDuel at plus 118 and take the under 6.5, as opposed to taking the 150 juice at minus 7.5. I hate to say this because I think I like the Raiders just as like being in Vegas. I think that stadium's awesome. I want to go to a game there this year if I can. But, man, I just don't see this team winning a lot of games. I don't think Jimmy G is necessarily that much of a problem. I just don't like this coaching staff. I don't like this defense. I really struggled, John. I mean, I struggled to find wins. I was like, they got to win some games. My initial run through item 2-15. 2-15. That doesn't seem possible. But, man, I just don't think this team's any good. I mean, I'm all over the under 6.5 in this. I can't go through this schedule and talk myself into 7 wins for them. I can't do it.
Not a snowball's chance in hell they're winning 7 games. I agree, but I'm not as bad as you. I got him at 5-12. Jimmy G cannot carry a team on his shoulders by himself, and Josh Jacobs cannot run the ball 747,000 times again and stay healthy this year. So they're going to have to figure something on offense, and I think whatever they do figure out is probably going to implode. If Jacobs sits out this year, like just holds out because they're not, which I don't think is going to happen, but he does not want to get franchise tag again. He wants a long-term contract. He worked way too hard, and the writing's on the wall that the running backs cannot take this kind of beating on a regular basis. So Jimmy G, like you said, we all like Jimmy G, but he's not Patrick Mahomes. He can make things happen, and he's pretty good, but this Raiders team, they're going to look pretty bad this season. I just feel like they have just enough talent. If everybody's healthy, they have just enough talent to get them at like 4 or 5 wins. But I'm definitely taking the under on the total wins.
Yeah, I'm jumping all over that 6.5. When I saw that drop from 7.5 to 6.5, and all of a sudden I could get plus money as opposed to minus 150, I was like, I got to be on that. I got to be big on the Raiders under. Yeah, like I said, I think they'll sneak out some games. They'll win 1 or 2 here and there, but I don't see them getting to 7. There's no way. I think they could get to 4 or 5. I mean, like I said, I was a little harsh on them when I was running through the schedule. I think there's 1 or 2 of those games they'll end up upsetting somebody and doing something. But, man, even last year, a lot of the games they won, they just lucked out in winning. I mean, they just barely won. And Josh Jacobs just played out of his mind to win them some games. So I feel like the Raiders are going to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. I really do. Especially with the schedule. They just have a very difficult schedule, and it doesn't line up very well for them.
It feels like they have Devontae Adams on offense and Josh Jacobs if he plays, let's just say he plays, but after that, you're looking at Jacoby Myers, Hunter Renfrow, and Austin Hooper as the rest of the offense. That doesn't scream 7 or 8 wins at all by any means.
And again, they just play so many good offensive teams, and I don't think that defense is any good at all. And that's my worry, is they're just going to get smoked and not be able to keep up with anybody. So last team, a team that I like, a sneaky team, little underperformed last year, is the Los Angeles Chargers. Right now, they're at plus 340 on DraftKings and plus 300 on FanDuel to win the division. They're sitting at over under 9.5 wins, which I was actually a little surprised that it was that low. Again, they have a tough schedule this year in this division. It's about even money, about 110 on 9.5 over wins on DraftKings, 128, minus 128 on FanDuel. Under is minus 110 on DraftKings and plus 104 on FanDuel. So they're right in the middle here, John. What are you thinking about the Chargers this year? Do you see any improvement or decline from them over last year?
I got them at 10-7, but I just feel like they're a really good team that just likes playing down to their opponent all the time. They try to stay on the same level as everybody. They never go for the kill. They're not that team that just, minus the Patriots last year. That was a kind of a shit show. But I don't know what's going to happen with Eckler. Eckler's pissed off. He's not one of those guys. He catches a lot of passes, but he's not like a workhorse. So if he's pissed off and it's always getting receptions, and the team just kind of decides that they need to move on or see what else they have for next year, I just feel like they're not a team that ever just pushes themselves to win. You saw what happened in a playoff game last year versus the Jaguars, where they got up to the lead and they just kind of said that, and then they got in the corner. The Jaguars had them in the corner, beating the shit out of them. They couldn't come back. They just can't get things back on track. They're like a mid team. I don't know why they just can't be better than they are. They have so much talent on this team. I don't understand. Defense, offense, across the board. The team is great, but they just can't seem to trip over their own feet. So I got them at 10-7.
Yeah, my initial run through, and I have to say this was a total bias pick by me because I actually like Justin Herbert. I kind of like this Chargers team, so I kind of root a little bit for them in that way. I initially went through 12-5, and I was like, that's too high. Yeah. I immediately was like, that's too high. They're going to lose some game in there that they should definitely win. They're going to have some close games. And again, is their defense going to be better? Is it going to be healthy? It was pretty beat up last year. If they're healthy, I really like this defense. If Khalil Mack's playing, Bosa's playing, CJ Jackson's or JC Jackson, is playing. I mean, all those guys come back. I feel like this Chargers team should be a 12-5 team. That deep down, that's the way I feel it.
Right.
But like you said, I just don't know if they have that killer instinct to be that 12-5 team. I just feel like they're going to lose some games that you look at them and you're like, they had that game. How did they lose that? Right. And I just feel like it's going to happen. And I just you're starting to hear some stuff about Justin Herbert. I like Justin Herbert a ton. I think he's a great player, but there's starting to be some doubt out there. Is he that killer instinct guy? Is he that guy that's going to bring you and take you at the end and he's going to get you a win? Or is he that guy that's just going to try to barely hold on? And there's starting to get some whispers of that. And they get a couple games early in the year where they either have teams come back on him or he does nothing at the end of games to try to win a game for them. I think that is just going to get louder and louder as the season goes on.
Everybody MF'd him in the draft process, saying how bad he was. You know, he should have been that 19th quarterback taken. He was nothing special. And he came in and just lit the world on fire right when he got his chance, when Tyrod Taylor got his injection in his lungs. And I don't understand, like, how at that point in time they expected him to be at this high-paced level. I mean, he's got a good team around him. But they expected him to just be Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen right from the get-go. They kind of knew. I think he's regressing back to what we thought he was going to be. Not as bad as everybody predicted, but regressing back to some of the flaws we saw in the process that was justifying his original draft position, which we thought he was a mid quarterback, nothing special, nothing fantastic. But he's not. I don't think he's going to elevate his game anymore to where he's at right now. A little more regression, maybe, but that's going to be Justin Herbert for the next a lot. You know, I don't know how many more years his NFL career is going to be, but he does just fine. But I'm not expecting fantastic every year or every game, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. He's just that guy, like you said. He's not a killer. He's not an assassin. He's a game flow guy, and he makes things happen. And he puts people in good positions, but. With a new receiver on the outside that maybe doesn't get hurt every time he jumps for a ball and lands on his face, you know, hopefully that the offense learns how to move on and get better with what they have.
Yeah, I like Herbert a lot. I actually think he's a good quarterback, but I think he hasn't had the weapons on offense. Guys have just been hurt too often, and I feel like he's one of those quarterbacks. He needs that stud wide receiver to kind of take over when they really need it. He can drop it off to that guy, and that guy makes plays. I think he's more of a guy that needs that surrounding cast to really kind of pick it up for him, as opposed to Mahomes, where you feel like Mahomes makes everybody around him better, like at the end of the game situations.
I just traded Gerald Everett. I just traded away what's his name? The backup in the Steelers. I don't know why. Jeez. The Steelers backup running back.
Jalen Warren.
I just traded away Jalen Warren to get Gerald Everett this year because I feel like this, like if Keenan Allen gets hurt whatsoever, and you got two big guys on the outside, I feel like that Gerald Everett might be like a league winner this year at tight end. If you needed a tight end, and he's kind of a sneaky, they'll probably run somewhere around like tight end like 18 to 24 in most people's rankings. I just feel like he could be the guy this year to get over 100 targets in fantasy. I know they don't use the tight end that often. Everybody says, "Oh, you got the fifth most targets." Yeah, whatever. It is what it is. I think that could be a position that Herbert really needs to utilize this year to make his offense work well. And I just think that Gerald Everett is going to be a beneficiary of this offense morphing into a better, more pass-controlled team.
Yeah, I like that move. I mean, I was wanting them to really get Jackson Smith and Jigba in the draft. They end up getting Quentin Johnston, who I think could work out there. I like that landing spot for him. I just thought, man, if they could just get a guy that's going to be all over the field, always be open, it could just help Herbert out a ton. But it's going to come down to health with them on wideouts. Can Mike Williams stay healthy? Can Keenan Allen stay healthy? Can Johnston be the guy, be that first-round stud they think he is?
This is a problem because I honestly feel like that when Mike Williams he goes up for these balls and he makes these awesome catches, but he lands on his shoulder, or he lands on his hip, he lands somewhere, and he gets hurt all the time. But Quentin Johnston's the polar opposite, where he's afraid to go up, and he's not a contested catch guy. So what's going to happen there? You got these two guys on the outside, and Mike Williams and Quentin Johnson on both sides of the field. One guy's a jump ball guy that goes up and gets it. The other guy's afraid to get hit. And then Keenan Allen is somewhere in the middle. I don't know what's going to happen here. If Quentin Johnson picks up his game and Mike Williams can stay healthy or stay not get traded, I'm not sure what they're going to do here. This team honestly has a pretty good chance. That Herbert really could thrive in this offense if these guys stay healthy and do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah, because they would be my sneaky pick to win this division.
Yes.
If the Chiefs get slipped up, they get a little bit tougher schedule. If the Chargers can kind of get a win, I mean, Vegas has them only a underdog in 4 games this year. They're favorite right now in 13 of their 17 games. So I think they're a team, like I said, I think they're a team that can get to 10, 11, 12 wins. I'm loving the over 9.5 here. I think they get at least 10. I just think this team's too good not to win at least 10 games. But they're my kind of sneaky pick. If they put it all together, I can see them winning the division at plus 340. I like that. I like the odds there on that one.